Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to break down the absolutely incredible strategies of world-renowned mentalist Oz Pearlman. Have you ever watched someone just walk into a room and instantly command attention? You know, they don't just talk to people, they foster these incredibly deep, genuine connections in a matter of seconds. They leave everyone in their wake feeling completely captivated. It feels like magic, right? But actually, it's really not. Pearlman has spent nearly 3 decades studying human behavior, and today we're decoding his methods into a highly actionable guide to help you master literally any social dynamic. Okay, so let's dive into this 5-part playbook. We're going to cover the illusion of mind reading, commanding attention in 10 seconds, fostering connections, hacking the fear of rejection, and finally, becoming unforgettable. Think of this whole thing as your personal cognitive cheat code for commanding any room you walk into. So let's jump right into part 1, the illusion of mind reading. We really need to redefine what it actually means to get inside someone's head. First off, Pearlman is super quick to point out that the true manipulation of a mentalist isn't supernatural at all. It's not about talking to the dead, moving objects with your mind, or having some kind of innate psychic power. It's actually a hyper-awareness of social patterns designed to create these memorable moments of awe. A mentalist's entire career is based on understanding the mind at work. If you picture the brain's reactions almost like a simple stickman diagram of neural pathways, you can actually anticipate exactly how human beings reliably react to specific stimuli. We all love to think of our thoughts as entirely unique, right? But the reality is our brains are wired with incredibly predictable defaults. By understanding these defaults, a mentalist can ethically manipulate a situation to create an environment where connection just thrives. It's all about leveraging psychology, not magic. And this brings us to a massive core rule of human psychology, perfectly captured by Maya Angelou. People remember how you made them feel, not what you did. In a world where literally everyone is just waiting for their turn to speak, giving someone your complete, undivided attention is incredibly rare. To be truly memorable, you have to selflessly make the other person feel like they're the star of their own movie. Give them the spotlight. Listen intently. Now, it sounds entirely selfless, but it's actually a brilliant strategic move. Why? Because when you make someone feel seen and valued, they will remember you, they'll champion you, and they'll naturally open doors for you in your own life. You're effectively anchoring positive emotions right to your physical presence. All right, let's move to part 2 and see how we can apply this to mastering those crucial first 10 seconds of any interaction. Back when Pearlman used to perform magic at restaurant tables as a teenager, he faced a brutal proving ground. He realized pretty quickly that when a stranger approaches you, your brain is instantly flooded with rapid-fire defensive questions. Who is this? Are they going to embarrass me? Do they want money? To survive, he had to diffuse that tension immediately. So he developed 3 calculated steps to bypass the brain's hardwired defenses. First, angle your approach. Second, add a time constraint. By just saying you only have 30 seconds, you immediately drop the other person's anxiety because they know they aren't trapped in some long, uncomfortable conversation. And third, flip the power dynamic. Offer a treat or some value right away rather than asking for something. These 3 steps completely short-circuit the brain's defense mechanisms. Let's look at the stark physiological contrast of how you actually approach someone. A direct, head-on approach visually triggers a Pavlovian fight-or-flight danger response in the brain. It lights up all those defensive neuropathways. It feels confrontational, almost predatory. But simply walking up at an angle, showing one eye instead of 2, and standing shoulder to shoulder rather than chest to chest automatically lowers the threat level. It creates relaxed neural pathways and acts as a literal, physical hack for a smoother, warmer introduction. You're basically communicating to the primitive part of their brain, hey, I'm a collaborator, not a threat. And get this. This technique of bypassing defensive scripts works at the absolute highest levels. When Pearlman unexpectedly met President Barack Obama, he didn't use those predictable autopilot pleasantries like, oh, it's an honor to meet you. That would have just resulted in an autopilot response. Instead, he used this exact mold-breaking opening line. He walked up and said, "Thank you so much for the gift, sir." This immediately captured the president's attention by eliciting total confusion and curiosity. When Obama, completely caught off guard, asked, "What gift?" Pearlman replied that because he was performing next, Obama was technically opening for him. He created a moment of total undivided engagement just by intentionally manipulating and breaking that expected social script. Okay, so you've got their attention. Let's move to part 3, building a genuine bond and moving way past superficial small talk. We desperately need to stop asking autopilot questions like, so, what do you do? Or, where are you from? These just trigger rehearsed, dead-end neural responses. You are literally getting a pre-recorded message from their brain. Instead, try turning a compliment into an open-ended question that sparks a sudden hit of dopamine. For example, wow, those glasses are so unique. What made you choose those? By probing a personal choice, you bypass the boring small talk and open up entirely new conversational pathways. People absolutely love talking about their decision-making processes. When you ask them why they chose something, you're inviting them to share a piece of their identity, and that instantly deepens the interaction. And while you're building these connections, you've got to keep in mind what Pearlman calls the make them theory. You cannot sit around waiting for gatekeepers to discover you or hand you opportunities. If you want success, you have to actively initiate it. You have to make them care about who you are. By taking full responsibility for the connections in your life, you shift from being this passive participant waiting for luck to actively manipulating your own destiny for the better. It's all about taking the reins and understanding that every interaction is a deliberate stepping stone on your own path. But let's be real. What if fear stops you from making that approach in the first place? Let's dive into part 4, hacking your own neural pathways against the fear of rejection. Pearlman uses an absolute genius trick for task avoidance and fear. When he was young and getting rejected at those restaurant tables, he effectively separated his psyche from the pain by viewing the interactions purely as experiments to collect data. By adopting this split persona, acting as a scientist just observing human behavior, you detach your ego from the outcome, which completely neutralizes the sting of rejection. A no just becomes an interesting data point. But for everyday dread, like making a difficult phone call, asking for a raise, or confronting someone, he uses a technique we're calling the 24-hour dread alarm. Here's how this cognitive cheat code actually works in practice. First, rate your dread on a scale of 1 to 10. Next, pull out your phone and set an alarm for exactly 24 hours in the future, and label it with the task you're avoiding. Then, use the 5-second rule. Count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just rip the Band-Aid off. Do the task immediately. Don't think, just act. Because the real magic happens the next day. When that alarm rings 24 hours later, you're going to realize the dread is completely gone. By recognizing that the psychological pain is guaranteed to vanish 24 hours later, you can essentially fast-forward your feelings and trick your brain into taking bold action right now. Which brings us to our final section, part 5, how to permanently solidify this connection and ensure you remain truly unforgettable. It all starts with our most fundamental human identifier, our names. The main reason we forget names instantly isn't actually a bad memory. It's a listening failure caused by a cluttered mind. We just fail to record the information in our neural networks because we're too busy panicking about what to say next, evaluating the person's handshake, or wondering if we left the stove on. If the data isn't inputted in the first place, you can't retrieve it later. You have to fix the recording process. To fix this neural glitch, Pearlman suggests what he calls the shampoo bottle algorithm: lather, rinse, repeat, but repurposed for memory. Step 1. Listen. You have to actively quiet your mind and focus solely on the audio of their name. Step 2. Repeat the name twice immediately in the conversation to solidify the neural link. And Step 3. Reply by hooking it to a memory. For instance, if you meet someone named David, you say, "David, it's great to meet you. I actually have a brother named David." By verbally attaching their name to something you already know, you've just built an unbreakable neural link. It's a really simple algorithmic habit that completely transforms your attention. And the final touches of a mentalist's playbook are all about observation and preservation. To be truly unforgettable, cheat your memory later by taking detailed notes on your phone the exact moment you leave a conversation. Write down their kids' names, their hobbies, anything they mentioned. Furthermore, learn to trust your internal pattern recognition. Notice deviations, like someone suddenly speaking faster or adding unnecessary, complex details to a story. That often indicates they're stretching the truth. You don't have to call them out, just log the data. And finally, the ultimate power move: always leave them wanting more. Embrace silence and never overstay your welcome. Knowing when to end an interaction is just as powerful as knowing how to start one. By mastering these neural hacks, you stop waiting for the world to notice you, and you start commanding the room. You become the architect of your own social reality. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to apply Pearlman's playbook right now. Think about your goals, think about your network, and ask yourself, using these tools of connection, who will you make remember you today?